we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, on infiltration instead of invasion, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
All right, welcome to episode 76 of the Abuse Hour. It is I, your host, Coffee Long, coming to you unsupervised, unmedicated, and apparently by legal definition, an unchecked threat to society. So I realized I just put out an episode a couple of days ago, but man, there's been enough weird shit that's gone on. But the thing I really wanted to hammer on was this House Resolution 6090. And that is the anti-Semitism awareness bill. It got pushed by some fucking bought and paid for cockbag. And, dude, long and short, you've probably seen a few things on this, but I think they probably had this shit drafted up and just in the holster ready to go. And as soon as this protest shit kicked off, and when would it not have kicked off? I mean, this was going to happen one way or the fucking other, right? I mean, you can only go around destroying so many hospitals and smoking so many civilians before college kids start getting uppity. I mean, they're always ready to protest over something, but I mean, if you're going to protest something, I think maybe liquidating non-combatants is as good a reason as any. But so I think they had this thing probably queued up and ready to go, and as soon as this shit, like in Columbia University and UCLA kicked off, and I guess a lot of places this shit's still going, but they launched this thing, and it passed the House, not even close. So, I mean, it raises the question. I mean, I don't know if it's even a question at this point. I mean, I think there's, between carrot and stick, I think these Hebrews have pretty much got that place buttoned up tight. So, I mean, there was a few people that voted against it, and, you know, how can you say, man, I think there was only one or two people that raised any particular issue with the bunny ears anti-Semitism aspects of this thing. But you know what? I'll get to that forthwith, because I wanted to kind of get in the weeds on some of this, and I actually even have some notes. But the first thing I wanted to talk about, sort of to whet the appetite, I suppose, was I don't know if you've seen it, man, but this show Fallout on Scamazon. I ended up getting a look at that, and I feel like that almost draws a perfect parallel to this anti-Semitism bill. I think it leads into it very nicely. I mean, I think there's a lot of explanation in there. And if you haven't seen it, I won't say watch it. I will say that like a lot of the imagery is very well done. A lot of the feel is very well done. If you're familiar at all, like I'm not by any stretch like a gamer. I'm familiar with the games. I'm familiar with the aesthetic. I dig the aesthetic. I like the old-timey radio show. That's a good time. But the deal with the game, as I understood it, was a pretty straightforward thing, as I heard it. And this show is fucking lefty-tastic, dude. I mean, it's straight Hebrew programming. I mean, I don't know if you ever had a chance to look at or hear about any of the old school, like, communist bloc, like East Bloc TV shows. Like, it was all of it was very communist centric, like very pro-comrade type shit. And I guess there was one they tried to redo as a gag, and it was called Comrade Detective. And they tried to do it like it was a gag, like, look how fucking stupid this is. So they redid it. They dubbed over it in English, and I watched like one of them, and I was kind of like, probably what everybody else thought, the same fucking thing, that like, well, this is pretty much like every show we already have. You know, like, it's very comrade, like, this is not very collective-minded of you, and you're not a good comrade, and I bet your children would make lousy workers, and so on. But yeah, this pretty much follows, well, I mean, it follows suit, and it actually, this I think was one that I think you could almost say, hey, I think we hit the mark with this, insofar as I think they've tried for a really long time to like, hey, we got to find like that perfect mix of like good aesthetic and something that people already like, and a story that they'll kind of tolerate, and a theme that they might be interested in, and then we can put all of our agenda on top of that. Because I think when you step back and you look at this show Fallout, all right, so if you're completely unfamiliar with it, the idea of this is that it's based on a video game, and I guess I want to say there was 4 games in this series. I'm not an authority on this shit by any stretch, but I guess there's 4 games in this series, and the general idea of this is that you're a survivor in like post-apocalyptic wasteland, like several hundred years in the future. And all of it is like kind of like what you would expect for like, I don't know, like an American Southwest, like very deserty, shit shot up, you know, like the people in the saloon or at the trading post or whatever, they're like, hey stranger, heard any rumors? This kind of shit. But I guess in the game then you go around and you collect shit, and like the currency in this game is bottle caps. So you go and collect like caps and shit, and you try to get different weapons, and it's actually in the future, so there's these cool modernized weapons. But then they've also got like this affinity for kind of and I don't know, how do you say, like 50s, probably 50s, early 60s style radio, right? There's like a very homey kind of a radio kind of a feel to it. And so like as you play the game, then you can have different radio shit on, and it'll play like these old-timey tunes that a lot of that you might recognize, you know, having heard somewhere before, maybe your parents, your grandparents' house, whatever. So it's kind of cool. Like you see all this shit that like, oh, this is like, it's like a, you know, the light blue colored kitchen kind of shit, except it's all nuclear, you know, this kind of thing. So it's got like a really cool feel to it. And in terms of like finding an aesthetic and finding a theme that people would be entertained by, this does a great job of that. Because obviously like the post-apocalypse thing is like something at the forefront of everyone's concern, because that's very clearly where this entire empire is headed. Like this is headed straight down the shitter, and it's only picking up speed, but we'll come to that in due course. So with this show then, the idea here, well, just rewind again, like the game then, you're like this guy, and I don't know to what degree your character is customizable, but I guess some of the standard characters are like the Outlander people, like they're just these survivors that are out there, and sometimes they band up, and then there's like something called, I want to say it's the Iron Brotherhood, and that's like this kind of mechanized, I don't know, it's almost like a steampunk kind of a feel, like paramilitary organization. There's like mutant bugs and giant mosquitoes and this kind of shit. So throughout this game, there's different ways that you can link up or pair up or side up with some of these organizations, and there's like different little alliances you can make or deals you can make. You can steal shit and, you know, all this kind of thing. So I guess the game, as games go, and again, like I've never played the game, but this is my understanding of how it all works. It seems pretty cool, and the general concept is that the world got blown up basically because I guess kind of like the, what do you call it, like the nuclear scare kind of shit, like in the 50s where people were building bomb shelters and this kind of shit. It all went, you know, sideways, and it ended up being nuclear war. But as it was like, oh well, we kind of pushed it this way, Goy, because, you know, we wanted to make them profits, which I don't completely see the logic. I mean, it's a little on the childish side. Like, I'm going to make more money by blowing up my customers. Like, I don't know that completely plays, but that's not the point. Like, that's, you know, so far as I'm aware, that doesn't really come up so much in the game. It's sort of a like, how did this all happen? You know, who the fuck knows? Corporations, that's how it happened. Just play the fucking game, right? But now you skip over to the show, and you see the show, and it's all the same font, the same feel, and the same aesthetic, and that kind of retro fucking 50s modern nuclear age kind of shit. and you're like, wow, fuck, cool, man. This looks good. You made a show out of this. This looks cool. Like, what's going to happen? And now you look at the previews. Like, as soon as I looked at the previews, I'm like, what the fuck? Because the previews is like, well, what's this story about? Oh, it's about this chick. It's about this young lady, you see? And she's super smart, and she's super go-gettery, and she's going to get out there, and she's got some kind of fucking quest that she's got to get to the bottom of. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to spoil a lot of this fucking show because it's not good enough, honestly, to sit through and say, oh, you fucked up the story, man. Like, if you want to sit through it for the vibe, for the feel, for the laughs, because you like the game or whatever the fuck, go ahead and do that shit. But I'm going to spoil the fucking story because I kind of have to spoil the story to convey exactly how fucked up it is what these coin clippers are doing. So I kind of got to lay out some of this shit. But so the idea, like, I'll tell you this right up front. Like, what is the idea really of this show? Like, having watched it, like, what would you say the idea is here? Well, you see, the idea of it is once upon a time there was this interracial couple, and then the world got blown up, and this white dude is wandering the wasteland with his face all gnawed the fuck up and trying to find something. I think he's looking for his family, so that'd be his extremely black wife and his Cheerios commercial mulatto daughter. Okay, is that it? Oh, no. See, that's part of it, but then the sort of like flash back and forth thing is you're watching the evolution of another interracial couple, and it's this porch gorilla looking dude and his arguably quite attractive future woman to be, this white chick, and you're watching their little love story unfold. Really? That's what Bunny Ears Fallout is about? Yes, it's about interracial romance. That is what this story is about. Wow. What else is in there, dude? And there's plenty in there. There's all manner of shit in here. I looked up, because I don't know. I still don't know exactly who wrote it or exactly who directed it. And I exactly don't give a shit. Because, when I'm watching a fucking magician pretend to saw a woman in half, like, I don't need to know that guy's name. I can still look at it and tell you how the fucking trick works. All right, I don't need to look at this thing and like, oh, okay. And, I think the difference here is that, you watch some magician sawing a woman in half, it's fucking illusion. This isn't actually happening. It's, smoke and mirrors, and there's some sidestepping here and there. But when it starts to spin into like, no, Goy, this is actually something you need to believe. No, there's truth here. I'm spinning you straight stories. I'm throwing straight dice. Then I think it's important to start looking at like, well, who are the usual suspects when we start talking about this shit? And it becomes real straight fucking forward as you watch this show. So I'm not going to go over it, in fine detail, but I will go over some of the major moving parts. So to kick this thing off, you're looking at one of these like nuclear fallout shelter type vault type deals, right? So it's vault number 33, and the hero of this story, like the central character, is this young lady Lucy, and I think she must be like early 20s, 18 or so, some shit like this. And she is just the fucking rock star student, man. She shoots the guns good, she knows all the answers, she's a great student, a good citizen, she's all of this shit. Of course, because she's Supergirl, and that's what Supergirls do. They have Supergirl power. So that's who she is. That, of course, is not enough. We have to have all of the male characters, especially the white male characters, and there really aren't that many. Like, every white male in this thing is fucked up and damaged in some kind of serious way. Just like Game of Thrones, just like every fucking show you've ever fucking seen for the last 10 years. If it's a white male in this show, that person is all fucked up. Like, you'd want to avoid him with a 10-foot pole. Never mind that in real life, if it was nuclear fucking catastrophe, the first person everybody's going to run to and look for answers, like, what the fuck do I do? What just happened? It's going to be you, Whitey. What do I do? Where do I go? How do I stay alive? Calm the fuck down. Let me try to figure this out, all right? But here in Fantasyland, all these people are simpletons. So she's got this cousin, and I can't remember. I want to say his name was like Buck or some shit. And he's an absolute fucking dunce cap. Her father, who we will find out later is like the arch villain, if you will, in this story. So this is this thing that I notice Coin Clipper Media tends to do, that they take all of these things that you look at and understand to think of as like very wholesome, very decent. You think of it in a very positive way, and then they'll like turn it on its head where they can say, yeah, you see, this is actually the most evil thing you could ever think of. You thought it was just nice and happy fun time going in you. Well, you were wrong. These people are the baddies. These people are the negative influence. These people are the problem. So all those nice, sweet 50s tunes, it makes you think of like, I don't know, your grandmother or your mom baking a pie in the kitchen and everybody's having a good time and there's not African riots downtown in the urbanized area. Yeah, that was all bullshit, dude. Those were the villains. Those were the people that made it that way. It's actually their fault. So you, in turn, need to look at this and hate it. Now, every time you hear this, you need to have negative emotions. And that's pretty much what they do throughout this thing, but I digress. So her dad is is kind of the overseer, as they say it. And I'll get to that shortly, dude, because there's a lot of I want to say like Illuminati type imagery, and that sounds extremely corny, but there's a fucking lot of it, dude. It's very, very weird, but I'll get to that in a minute. So her father is the overseer, and somehow, for some reason, her mother is gone. Her mother's just not there. Something befell her, some misfortune, and mom is no longer with us. What a shame, but at least she has the memories, right? So she's got this cousin, I think his name is Buck, and he's a real dipshit. He's weak and slow, and I'm not brave like you, Lucy. Best of luck, Lucy. I hope things work out. But then she's got this brother who, I shit you not, her bunny ears brother. This dude looks like a Leo Frank stunt double. Like, if you Google a picture of Leo Frank, like, it's this dude minus the straw hat. Like, looks exactly like this guy. So the deal here is that they live in Vault 33, and all of these vaults, they work out this deal where like they try to intermarry, right? So they can keep the stock fresh and have, new blood and new ideas and da-da-da-da-da. So the vault next door, Vault 32, they're going to be delivering a virile young man to marry off to Lucy. So they show up, and here comes the young man, and this guy is like, he looks like a fucking male model, basically. Like, he's got his abs on, he's young, and he's got like some long Brad Pitt looking hair, and like, oh, hi, how you doing? All right, man. And he's a little rough around the edges, bro. Cool. But she's into it, so she's like, all right, at least he's not this fucking schlub or some kind of thing. So she's into it. So immediately we move into like sex scene in the retro kitchen, right? So back to their little retro shelter apartment, or the apartment inside the fucking Fallout shelter. And now like you're already kind of besmirching your idea of this like retro wholesome setting. Like, yeah, we're gonna have people fucking on the table. Okay, cool. All right, so that didn't take long. That took less than like a half an hour. Here we fucking go. But now, as it turns out, this guy that they had married off here appears to have come from a band of people who raided Vault 32, killed everybody. They're led by this strong Latino woman, because that's the natural course of things. When there are, gangster-ass decisions to be made, it's going to be some Latino woman who moves to the forefront with the best ideas. So that, of course, is just, that's just natural, isn't it? But again, I digress. So they roll in there. A strong Latino woman kidnaps Lucy's dad, the overseer, and spirits him away somewhere. And this is like sort of like the Mario Brothers quest, like how this whole thing kicks off. Like, now she's got to leave the vault, she's got to go find her father, and off we go with the rest of the story. So immediately, I'm hearing some of these things, and like her father, the overseer, gives this speech, and there's no fucking way that this stuff is coincidence. There's just no fucking way. So they live in Vault 33. His title is the Overseer, and he gets up there as they're going to have like their little wedding feast for his daughter's wedding, and he's talking about how they must be a light in the darkness for other people to follow. And I'm watching this, and I'm like saying out loud, I'm like, there's no fucking way that this is a coincidence. Are you seeing this? And my woman is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, look, they're in Vault 33, like Masonic number, right? And then he's the overseer, like the all-seeing eye, right? That sees over. He's the guy at the top of the pyramid. And then he's up here talking about we must be a light in the darkness, and for other people to follow. So I'm like, immediately you're kind of steering this this Illuminati vision, right? Like you're using these fucking buzzwords. And like I was doing other shit at the time also, but I didn't watch super close on all of the details on this thing. So I'm sure there are other components of this. I just didn't take note of them. I did notice a lot of propaganda type, Bolshevik type imagery, and I'll get to some of that as we move along. But as this story goes along, then the idea here is that Lucy here, heroine of the story, leaves her vault. She can't be accompanied by her pussy ass cousin or her pussy ass brother. Her sissy little brother, the Hebrew-looking guy, he stays back and, as it happens, just manages to subvert the entire society. I kid you not. But apparently that's not too tall of an order, because the people in charge, the people left in charge, yes, are one woman of color with this, like practical, not like, oh, there's some woman, she looks like she happens to be black. No, it's like we're driving it home. Like the big afro really drives it home to you. They got the big schlubby brother, and he just kind of slow. He just stand off to the side. And then the Indian. So it's like, yeah, I fucking get it. Like, yeah, this is replacement agenda. I see, okay? Yeah, the village elders are all persons of color. The only other really white character in this situation is this blonde woman who was pregnant at the time of this whole, fake raid or whatever it is thing, who ends up getting shot in the eye or something. So she goes around the rest of the show with an eye patch, which I thought was pretty weird. So she's got an eye patch, and then the schlubby cousin of this Lucy becomes like the cuck husband because her husband got killed. So this guy cucks and like, yeah, I'll raise you and your kid. So now she's like snapping her fingers at him and like, come on, we got to do this, we got to do that. And he's like, sorry, coming, honey. So I didn't really take the time to kind of unpack the details here. But I feel like if I sat down and wrote some of it out, there's definitely like some imagery there, some concept there, some ideas there where like you're trying to push a certain kind of a narrative. I just can't put my finger on it. But like the what can you say? Like the bunny ears, Illuminati, Masonic thing, the one eye thing. It's very much there. It's there. I just haven't really taken the time to put the pieces together and like, what are you trying to say here? Like, what message is this? And, as I'm saying that, I can understand the idea that like, well, if you have to try to figure it out, is it really effective propaganda? I'll say not always, man, for two reasons. One, maybe they just want to put the propaganda in there just to throw doubt in there. They're not going to give you a whole story. Like, this is just the fucking random cigarette butt that gets thrown on the ground at a crime scene. Like, what is this? It's a distraction, dude. That's all it fucking is. Or it could be like these people do sometimes where it's like, it's a message, yeah, but it's not a message for you. It's a message between them. Like, the people are, they're sending this message to each other. I don't know what those messages are. I'm not sure what they're driving at here. But, the Vault 33 thing, the overseer thing, the one-eyed thing, the light in the darkness thing, this is within 1 hour, dude. 1 hour of like an 8-episode series. So, anyway, and I'm not going to talk through every fucking episode on this, but I just wanted to hit kind of the highlights of this and kind of get the ball rolling for like, where do you stand on this thing as this kicks off? So now, as this thing kicks off, like you're talking about, again, like the interracial love story. So there's like these two stories converging. And now the other story, apart from our super girl boss, fucking Lucy, is this dude Maximus. And Maximus, of course, is the strong, caring black man. He a gentle giant. He a strong black man. He a really good fighter. But he's been subjugated, if you will, by the, Brotherhood of Iron or Brotherhood of Steel? Brotherhood of some bullshit or other. And it's, as you'd expect, like managed mostly by white dudes who talk like old English books or something. They wear robes and shit. They have knights who go around in giant mech armor and this kind of thing. But poor Maximus, he's just stuck being, a page boy or, like a little, house boy, if you will. And finally, amongst the schlubs like himself, they're going to select somebody to be a squire for some different knights. So they're selecting a squire to go out with Bunny Ears Knight Titus. So to go out with Knight Titus, initially they select this very obviously crafted, I don't know what you like, tranny Latina, whatever the fuck. They even refer to, it's a female, right? But they're pushing it, they refer to it at one point as they. It's obviously got its tits strapped down. It's got this little fake Skylar mustache. It's got a much shorter haircut than pretty much any of the males in this scene. So it's like, yeah, I get your fucking point. I get it. I see where you're going with this. Just come on. Just do the fucking thing. So they select, I don't remember what that thing's name is, fucking Dragula. I don't fucking know. But what you find out later, well, like this thing gets injured, right? This Latina girl gets injured. Latina she-male gets injured and can't go. And they're saying, well, who done this? Turns out later she did it to herself because she was scared to go. And it's, like some of this shit, it becomes like you're kind of making the mistake by, telling the truth here. Like you're saying the quiet part out loud. Like you're not supposed to do that shit. But luckily, strong soul brother Maximus, he gets picked to go in their stead, right? And so he goes out the door as squire for Knight Titus in his giant chromed out mech suit. But now they get out there and they encounter one of these wasteland. And again, this is one of these little hints that are in here. They encounter this giant, wasteland bear kind of a creature that's like mutated and oversized. And suddenly Knight Titus turns into a pussy and starts running. And oh shit, oh fuck. And is running off, gets worked over by this bear, is bleeding out inside this fucking suit. And so now Knight Titus takes his helmet off, and guess who it is? Guess who is Knight Titus? It's Michael fucking Rappaport. That coin-clipping, whining, ever long-suffering motherfucker. So there he is, man, and I'm like, this is just too much, dude. Like, don't try to tell me that any of this shit is coincidence. And again, my woman is like, who's Titus? I don't get it. Google it. Fucking Google it. Who is Titus? Arch of Titus, and so on. So again, now you're going to make fun of. So now when you think Titus, you're thinking, oh yeah, like scaredy, coward, ran off, died, bled out. So I'm like, yeah, charming. Real fucking cute. I see you. I fucking see you. But now, soul brother like no other, he pulls Michael Rappaport's dead carcass out of the mech suit. He jumps in the mech suit and assumes the title of Knight Titus. So now he be Knight Titus and shit. We was Titus. We was Titus. Off he goes. So now he takes off and he's trying to find some scientist for some shit. And the shit goes on. It goes on and on like this, all right? So now, like, the other main character is, I can't remember who the fuck was. I can't remember the guy's name. It's, his last name's Goggins, and he's like a southern dude. He was in that southern fuck you gospel fucking thing that was on some cable channel. But he's a pretty funny dude, but he plays like the ghoul, but he's like this wasteland cowboy, like High Plains drifter looking motherfucker. Like his face is all chewed up and shit, and he's got to take all these weird, Fallout game potions to stay alive, this kind of thing. And he be out there looking for he colored wife. So whatever, dude. And his Cheerios commercial daughter. But so all of these characters kind of converge, and as you would expect, Lucy meets Knight Titus, soul brother like no other, and just immediately is just googly eyes and oh wow, and I'm like, this is the stupidest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life, man. But it goes on and on and on, and like long and short, the way it plays out is is she wants to bring, he even confesses to her that I'm not really Knight Titus. My name is Maximus, and my knight, he was killed, and so I took over. I just wanna complete the mission and but she forgives all that shit because she ain't mine. He lied to her, but that okay, he have her best interests in mind and shit. And so she immediately takes to calling him Max, which is, she's got a little pet name for him, just like a real live pet. So the shit goes on, and what eventually comes out is that, the evil white men, these corporation, Vault Corp, or whatever the fuck the name of I can't remember the name of the fucking, Vault Tech, that's what it was, is the company that made all the peace talks fail so that the bomb could drop and they could be, I don't know, I guess you're going to get rich by killing all your customers or killing every potential new customer. That's your plan. But as it happens, way back when, and none of this really gets explained during the show, like how it is exactly that way back when this bomb dropped, that all of these people got into a vault, and now hundreds of years later, they're still alive somehow. I don't know how the fuck that happens. Somehow it happens, though. And as it happens, the guy that was in charge of Vault Tech that made this shit happen was Lucy's dad, the Overseer. So it's kind of like this big song and dance that, like, yeah, the people you think are your friends, man, like the Illuminati, bro, they're the ones actually pulling the strings and calling the shots, bro. They're the ones that are actually behind it all. So this guy, he's actually, he's the villain, bro. And what you find out is that Lucy's mom actually took her away from all that. She took her and her brother and ran away to New California with what turns out to be later was that same Latina girl boss chick who was actually a brilliant scientist who invented a free energy machine. But Vault-Tec bought the rights and crushed it and made it so we couldn't ever use it, and they holding us down because I'm a brilliant scientist, as all minority women are. But what's kind of alluded to through this whole thing is that this woman took her 2 kids out of the vault to run away and be lesbian lover with this Latina girl boss chick. So you're like, wait, what? So she's like lesbian gal pals with this chick, but dad came and snatched the kids back, took them back to the vault, left her mom out there, I guess, to whatever, get zombified or whatever the fuck happened to her. But now, it's a big war on, and it all kind of converges with the Brotherhood of Steel or Brotherhood of Metal Suits or whatever the fuck. And they show up where they have it at the Griffith Observatory, is where the final showdown happens in city of Los Angeles. And so there was like some really good Bolshevik imagery in this shit too. So they run in here, and the Brotherhood of Steel or whatever is shooting them up because they want the secret data, the stolen data. These hippies that are out here with their free energy machine, they're shooting back. And now, like in slow motion, they decide to make a final stand, and they're going to go out there and get it on. And there's a sign over this door, "Welcome to New California." And out through the door comes Latino boss girl, walking in slow motion with a kind of a sash across her chest. And it's like instant imagery of like, this is like a Statue of Liberty looking image with Latina girl boss out here to kick ass and take names, as all girl bosses only do. And in the background, they're telling you, "Welcome to New California." So I was like, dude, this is tired as fuck. And you know what kind of sucks is, like, decent propaganda like that, it throws just these little pieces into your head. And, I don't know if you could, like, it doesn't have to be a whole coherent story. Like, it is, as quality goes, as skill goes, like, this is a really skillfully laid out piece of propaganda. But again, it is a propaganda piece, and it's not about, a tale of survival in the apocalypse. It's not about, the timeline of a video game put out through 8 episodes. It's a story about 2 interracial couples and a lesbian couple, as it turns out, all fighting the evil white man. That's all this fucking is. So 8 episodes of this total fucking horse shit. But if you get a chance, I would say go ahead and watch it just for that purpose of being able to recognize some of this propaganda and the way that they're laying out and the skill with which they're starting to ply their trade, if you will, because it is well done. And if you know what we know, then yeah, you can look at it like, you motherfuckers. But for the regular Joes, a regular person looking at this, a 16, 17-year-old boy looking at this, what does this tell him? That like, yeah, at some point you're going to want to, I guess, buddy up to an intelligent brother, so maybe you can pick up his scraps, or maybe find yourself, if you're lucky, like a brilliant Latina woman to work for, because she's going to steer you straight. I mean, you're never going to accomplish like she accomplishes, but, the world needs ditch diggers, and that's honestly what you're here for, Goy. So do your best, right? Thumbs up. But how that kind of plays into this anti-Semitism awareness bill that I wanted to kind of harp on a little bit, this HR 6090, is that what they're suggesting to you is that, hey man, it's just gone too fucking far, that these Hebrews have just been done wrong enough. Like, these poor people, they've had enough, and they need legal protection at this point, right? Because, I mean, I don't know if somebody's going to listen to this, down the road, a few months from now, a couple of years from now, but to sort of set the stage for where we are. At this point, Israel has killed about 35,000 people. As I understand it, about 35,000 non-combatants and over 75,000 casualties. They're just now starting to unearth some of the bulldozed over wreckage in Khan Yunis, one of the regions inside Gaza, and they're finding just mass graves. Just no shit mass graves. Some people just shot in the head. These people are just liquidated. Now again, I'm not saying I ever left my wallet in fucking Gaza. I didn't, I don't have friends or family at the Khan Yunis hospital. What I'm saying is that this is a pretty fucked up thing on its own. But two, it's pretty fucked up to look at it and to have your own country say, oh, citizens who I'm meant to represent, oh, you have a problem with this? You have a problem with what's going on over here? We have a problem with this too. And the problem we have is that you're not being lenient enough to these Israelis. So we're going to make some laws to protect these people. So as it is right now, both at Columbia University and UCLA, they've got these pro-Palestine, anti-Israel protests going. And like I said last episode, man, as with every college protest, do these people have a really solid grasp of what's going on here? No, they don't. But what I think you can say is that when you've got everybody from soccer moms to gay activists to jocks to actors to college students to military people to people like us all saying, hey, when I see what's going on here, no matter what version I see of it, no matter where I get my news on this situation, I can't help but look at it and think it's pretty fucked up. So this is probably the one thing that the entire country is in agreement on. I think if I wanted to run for president, you could probably come out with like, we're going to put an end to the genocide in Gaza. You would win in a fucking walk. But instead, what you're getting is riot police crackdowns. You're getting, when those guys get tired of cracking heads, you're seeing them basically stand back. I've seen some video going on in Los Angeles, and they basically stood back and like, hey, whoever wants a shot at them, man. You want to shoot little bottle rockets into their little camp or whatever. You want to snatch a few people out at a time, beat the shit out of them. You want to water hose them. Do whatever you want, man. And there's really, I haven't seen anything that's like, yeah, Kraken Dally, counter-protesters have gone too far. All right, that's enough. Everybody's going home. This has all gone too far. No, and I'm sure it's quite a shock to these protesters. A lot of these people that are textbook, bunny ears leftist, if you will, they're used to being allowed to do this shit. And anything else, you want to complain about white people. You want to say black people aren't getting a fair shake and white privilege needs to end, this kind of shit. Well, you're going to get a free pass. Go burn down the entire fucking neighborhood. The police will take a knee and the news will come out to tell you how peaceful you are. It's no big deal. Go right ahead. But the first time you say Israel, it's your ass. Which brings us to where we are today with HR 6090. So I got to look at some of the highlights off this thing, and some of the things they're talking about here. is they're talking about standing up like paid positions, like hall monitors, like political officers, like straight Bolshevik playbook here. Like, we're going to have somebody floating around, just like you have like the diversity officer, just like you have somebody in there to promote the diversity, inclusion, and equity, the DIE program, right? You have somebody to promote all this shit. Now you're going to have somebody in there to hall monitor against anti-Semitism. Like, nobody gives a shit if you talk bad about white people. Nobody gives a shit if you look at an entire state and say, hey, this state's too white. Somebody should do something about it. Because we've seen that. Plenty of news stories about like Maine or Vermont saying, hey, this place needs to be diversified. It's too white. So what they're talking about again here is putting in paid positions. They're talking about starting up more educational programs. So they're going to start on you earlier now. Because quite honestly, I think the thing with the Holocaust is like even kids at this point have gotten to the point where they're like, I don't know how possible this is. You know, I think that's part of the thing with meme magic, you know, is that it is pretty simple to be like, hey man, it takes hours to burn a body. You can't do it in 30 seconds, right? Fucking jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, right? Meme magic, dude. Kid doesn't have to be a fucking scientist to go, hey, this is bullshit what you're saying, and I can tell you why in 10 seconds. So instead, they're going to start harping a little more systematically with the institution of more educational programs. And when they say anti-Semitism, the stuff that they're going to be working against, they've got a laundry list of shit that they want to focus on. And I wanted to go over some of these things because there's a lot in here that, there's a lot in here that you could look at and you could just breeze right by. But when you read into it, you can kind of see, one, you can kind of see what they really think of you, and two, you can see where your lines of attack are. So you could see like, well, yeah, when you say this, here's how I'm going to answer. You don't have to think of it at the time. I'm going to tell you now. I'm going to do a little prep work. So the first thing they're focusing on is the allegation that Jews hold any kind of collective power, whether you're talking about media or banking or academia or any of these traditional kinds of things, government, this kind of thing. Okay, for one, they do, plain and simple. They represent 2% of the population, but 30% of Ivy League students. And when you're talking about Biden's cabinet, you're talking about 70+%. So to say that there's disproportionate representation there, that's simple fucking math, friend. Now, as to this argument of, well, maybe they're just smarter, they're more apt to this, they're better designed for this, the plain and simple fact is that if you look at the white population and you look at a standard deviation bell curve, we have more, in raw numbers, more exceptionally intelligent people than there are total number of Jews in the country. That's, again, simple fucking math. So if you're going to say it's because we're smarter, there still ain't enough of you to be smarter, even if every single one of you was actually smarter. But what this also says, though, is to say that like, oh, well, you know, just because there's a lot of us here, that doesn't mean that there's any kind of bias. That doesn't mean that there's any corruption going on. Well, hold the fuck on a minute. Because when there's a lot of white kids in colleges or a lot of white kids in jobs, well, according to you, according to the government that you disproportionately occupy, that is a problem. Overrepresentation does go hand in hand with some kind of corruption. Underrepresentation, like where your blacks are concerned, that goes hand in hand with, oh, well, they've been singled out. So how can both of these things be true? If you would say that just in raw numbers, if there's more of you here and less of them here, well, that means that they're getting short-dicked and you've got a hookup. You've got white privilege. That's a given. Well, wait a minute. If that's true, then why is it not true for you? Well, you're not allowed to talk about it, Goy. That's part of the program here. Second, the kind of anti-Semitism they want to focus on is alleging Jewish responsibility for, and this is what it says, real or imagined wrongdoing. Now, they do kind of specify here that collective responsibility, but again, I would go back to, well, how am I collectively responsible? If I'm a minimum wage white dude, and here's some black dude coming from a family where his dad makes $300,000 a year, how are you going to fucking look at me and say that I have privilege, that I'm privileged? And you're going to look at him and say, well, no, he gets a free ride to college. Why? Because he comes from an underserved background. He comes from an underserved demographic. Well, yeah, but he himself is not underserved. His dad makes $300,000 a year. He can go to any college he wants. That's not the point. It's not about him specifically. It's about the demographic, Goy. You might not have two nickels to rub together, but white people as a whole, they do pretty well. So you're going to have to go fuck yourself. You're going to have to bite the bullet. Sorry, friend. It's collective. But again, when we're talking here about these people, even where it states real wrongdoings, no, you have to find the specific coin clipper that did it. Who clipped those coins? You're not allowed to say, well, no, all of you need to take some collective responsibility and make this right. You have a lot of work to do. Do the work. Right? What about that? No, we're not doing that. Next item here, denying the Holocaust. Here on this one, this is something that you always hear them refer to, like, oh, Holocaust denier, oh, you're this, you're that, we're not going to discuss the Holocaust, we're not going to discuss, okay, well, wait. When you say the Holocaust, what exactly do you mean? Do you mean that people were put in camps? Because people were put in camps in this country. Do you mean people were systematically murdered in camps? Because people were systematically murdered, German soldiers were systematically murdered at the hands of both the U.S. government and the Soviet government. Is that what you mean? Do you mean civilians? Because German civilians were systematically murdered by Russians, and the U.S. has never said shit about it. No big deal. Go on, carry on. Yeah, they were our allies. Let's whack this thing up. Let's whack up this whole continent. And we'll all take a little piece. Yay, thumbs up for us, right? No, obviously there's no problem with that. So what Holocaust are you talking about? Are you talking about the Wile E. Coyote fucking machine stories that we heard during Nuremberg trials? Are we talking about the confessions that dudes made after their genitals had been fucking destroyed and they'll sign any fucking thing you want them to sign? And now we know that men were actually hanged. People were actually executed after confessing to things that we now know are physically fucking impossible. Things that cannot possibly happen. This guy said, yes, I did it, after his balls got crushed. And he signs a thing saying, yes, I did it. Cool, now we're going to execute you. Is that the Holocaust you're talking about? Which Holocaust do you mean, friend? So that's not really specified. All we can really take away, I suppose, here is that you ain't allowed to talk about it. It don't matter. It's not for you. We can make movies about it, get rich off of it, guilt trip your kid over it, but you can't fucking discuss it. So leave it alone. We're talking here about the suggestion of dual loyalty, or considering Israel as a, quote, racist endeavor. So this one, again, is there dual loyalty? Yeah, I think it's impossible to say that, like, yeah, I serve both of these interests. How can anyone serve both interests at once? Nobody can play on two teams. You can't hold two different jobs, two different full-time jobs. It doesn't fucking work that way. But here we're gonna overlook that. We're talking about Israel as a racist endeavor, and I think that one does warrant some discussion because in the Israeli Constitution, it specifies that Israel is a homeland for the Jewish people. And if you talk about immigration to Israel, they will specify, and they have. Israeli politicians have specified we don't have immigration because then Israel would become less Jewish. And it is, by definition, a homeland for the Jewish people. So yes, it is, in their own words, in their own constitution, a bunny ears racist endeavor. Next item here is denying the right of self-determination. Dude, for fuck's sake. Like, what more rights do you want? You're the only people, the only country whose dual citizens are allowed to hold elected office in the U.S. All right? The most powerful lobby in the U.S. is a lobby on behalf of Israel. Fucking AIPAC. But to say that they don't have the right of self-determination, is that to suggest that anybody else in this country does have the right to self-determination? White people sure as shit don't have the right to self-determination. We don't have the right to free association. Even black people, do they have the right to self-determination? No. They get pumped just as much propaganda as anybody. The flavor is different than ours. Their flavor is, hey, you've been done wrong. You got to do something. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. That guy over there is your enemy 24 hours a day. That white dude over there, he's stealing from you. Every hour he's awake, every minute he's alive. He's taking what's yours. Constant with this shit. So do they have the right to self-determination? No. I guess my question then is, why do these people have a special privilege? Why do you get self-determination when nobody else does? And what more self-determination would you have? You're allowed to do basically anything you fucking want. This one I had to write out, like quoted it strictly from the document. Applying a double standard by requiring behavior not expected of any other nation. Dude, there is literally no requirement on Israel in terms of any behavior. When you look at the number of civilians killed versus the number of combatants killed in a ratio sense, or number of children killed even, when you look at what the U.S. did in Iraq or Afghanistan, and hey, again, man, having been to both of those places, I'm not saying that trip was worthwhile. I'm not saying anything like that. But what I am saying is that we went to great fucking lengths to not create enemies where we did not need to. Like the next time I walked through this town, that guy over there that didn't give a fuck if I was here or not, or might have actually been happy to see me because the people that were cruising in here were taking advantage of him, might have been happy to see me. Now he's going to be up there taking pot shots at me. Why? Because what? Because I killed his brother, I killed his kid who wasn't doing shit. So did we try to be careful in that sense? Yeah, fuck yeah, we did. And if we did somebody wrong, blew up the wrong guy's front door, look, man, here's a fucking year's wages. Treat yourself. Get a new front door. Take your woman to dinner. All right, go do something. We fucking tried to do these people right. And that was what, from our own country and from the rest of the fucking world, that's what people fucking expected. And as a result, that ratio of non-combatants to combatants killed was really fucking low. Israel's ratio of combatants to non-combatants killed is fucking exponential. And the only way I can think of it is that they don't give a fuck. Like, why does it matter what that guy thinks of you if you're only aiming to kill him eventually anyway? Go ahead and don't like me. Go ahead and be fucking mad. I don't care. I'm going to be eradicating you and taking your fucking property and turning it into a fucking farm or a hotel or some shit down the road anyhow. So who the fuck is kidding who here? Literally nothing is expected of these people. This one's one of my favorite. They're talking here about use of symbols, use of phrases like blood libel, or suggesting that Jews were responsible for the murder of Jesus. Well, so in this case, I did see one politician say, like, well, so what are you saying? Like the entire New Testament is now illegal? Is that your plan? This thing with blood libel, if you're not familiar with this is the suggestion that some sects, if not all sects of Orthodox Judaism, are somehow involved in ritual child sacrifice and murder. So let me say this about that, man. I have read some accounts all through the Middle Ages, going all the way back to ancient fucking Greece. Dude, I have it. I have a thread posted on my Twitter. I think it is Coffee Long 14. I might be wrong. I'll try to look and post it sometime later on. But there is a dude that did a whole thread on it. And there are accounts going all the way back to ancient Greece. Like some guy escapes and looks all fucking beat up, and people are like, "Who are you? Where the fuck did you come from?" It's like, the Jews had me. They were gonna sacrifice me. They had already killed some other people, and they did this to him and this to him and this to him. And it's all the same shit going all through the Middle Ages, all through Central Europe, Western Europe, all the way out to England. All of the same things, man. Killed in the same way, same rituals, same kind of shit. And what you're going to try to tell me with this here is that, what, like people with different languages over the course of 1,000+ years, they just all got together and decided to come up with the same story for no fucking reason. Because staying alive was just getting too fucking boring. I have nothing else going this afternoon. I think I'm going to make up a story that, wow, what a coincidence, is just so starkly similar to some other story that's been made up, and the same story that's been made up for the past 1,000 years. Wow, that's a real fucking shocker, ain't it? But it doesn't matter now because it's illegal to talk about it. And then lastly, like we said, collective responsibility, that Jews as a whole should take any kind of collective responsibility for things that other Jews do. Now, I would say that that in some sense, maybe you'd want to say like, well, no, maybe, the collective thing, don't we always bitch about that as white people? They're like, dude, there's no such thing as collective privilege and this and that. But I'm going to tell you this, there is no more collective, no more insular group of people on the planet than these Jews. They always complain about, you make us live in ghettos. Dude, you deliberately segregate yourselves. They have the program saying, do not intermarry with other races or we'll disappear. They talk about inbreeding deliberately just to keep their wealth in the family. This is a very collective organization of people. All right? So where you can be forced to take any kind of collective responsibility, even for something that doesn't exist, how the fuck is it suddenly legislated that these people have no responsibility whatsoever when they are the most collective group on the planet and they are the ones driving the train to dump all of this shit collectively in your lap? How the fuck is this possible? If you know how, you tell me, because I don't know. But what I will say, what I do want to leave you with is this, is that we've been talking for a while, and we talk about it's getting worse. It's going to be fucking Weimar conditions. It's coming down the pipe, dude. They're saying they're going to define this shit. They're saying they're going to make laws against this shit. Well, let me tell you something, man. A law without a consequence is just a suggestion. So if you don't see consequences coming down the pipe, then you're not paying attention. And if you're wondering what those consequences might look like, you got to look no further than UCLA and Columbia to get a pretty good idea of how much they don't give a fuck what you think of them if they decide to knock on your door because of, whatever. You said 6 million sounds a little high. So with that in mind, man, I'm going to leave you to it. I'm going to go get a workout. And till then, I would say get ready, man, because pretty soon it's going to be me and you roaming the countryside as an unchecked threat to society. But until that day comes, keep your eyes on the horizon, keep your neck out of the noose. I have been Coffee, and these are my takes.